Lexis Advance provides a few additional tools we'll briefly mention that can help you with your brief research. First, as we noted earlier, you have access to your history for 90 days. When viewing your history as a list format, it can be kind of difficult to understand the research path you were taking. If, however, you move over into the research map, you both get a visual view of your research history and also some additional tools we can use. This is where that change client can come in handy. We can narrow it down specifically to just our brief assignment work that we were doing. And we'll see we would eliminate all that additional history. So things like maybe cases you pulled for class or if you're working on another paper. It's a great tool for both sitting down with your professor if you're having trouble and you need to identify the steps where you're going wrong, or even if you just need to pick up where you left off. You can easily see the searches you ran, the different category types, any additional filters, as well as documents you accessed. A very useful feature about this is if you've identified a few major primary cases you plan to cite to, you can select them and do this select document to find similar. I would usually do this at the end of my researching as just a final step. You can add up to 5 documents in here and run a search, and it will compare things like headnotes, jurisdiction, common terms, etc. to find other cases that share those traits. Usually you won't find any new novel cases, but if something pops up you haven't seen before, it can be very helpful. The other thing you have access to from Lexis Advance is what's known as Shepard's Brief Check. Shepard's Brief Check will allow you to upload a document, and it'll do a number of things for you. One, it will go ahead and quote check, so it will actually identify any quotations you have within your document, and it will compare that quotation versus the citation online. So it allows you to quickly identify if you've, for example, dropped the word no or things of that nature. It also will Shepardize all the citations in your document. So what this means is you can double check at the very end whether or not all of the case law you're relying upon is still good. Additionally, when you get to oral arguments, you can actually upload your opponent's brief and double check to make sure all the cases they relied on are good case law. If you notice a lot of yellows or reds, it gives an indication of weaknesses in their brief that you can discuss in detail. I usually recommend going ahead and unchecking Get Document. All that would do is actually pull each individual case you cited to. If you want to, for example, upload a syllabus and pull all the documents, it can be helpful then. But in this instance, it's probably not going to be something you want to do. The citation content report, what it'll actually do is pull all of the Shepards, so the case names, parallel citations, jurisdiction, court date, etc., and list it next to the things you cited. It will not actually Blue Book for you, but it will provide you all the information you need. And just some additional things you have access to here as well. You would go ahead and hit Next, and it will pull up all the different quotations for you to review and make sure that those are quotes that you actually intend to be checked against. And again, depending on the size of your document, it can take a little bit of time to process through these. Here we'll see a list of all our citations. We'll see that we have all the quotes checked, etc. Go ahead and select Next again. And finally, I recommend downloading this. Try not to print it. These things can get very, very large depending on the options you selected, upwards of 5,000 pages. Go ahead and just download it as a PDF. You also have the option, you'll notice, to download the Shepard section of it as an Excel sheet to sort by. So go ahead and do that, review it, and it's just a great final thing to make sure you're relying on the proper stuff. For those of you all that have Windows computers, if you actually come to the LexisNexis for Law School homepage, you can come up to the top and there'll be a section known as Resources. If you select Resources, at the very bottom you'll see what's known as a link to Lexis for Microsoft Office. Lexis for Microsoft Office is actually an add-on for Windows Microsoft Office that does a number of things. It will do things like quote check, Shepardize, etc. But a very useful feature is this one right here. It will actually create and update your table of authorities instantly. This will save you a lot of time. So if you have Windows, I highly recommend downloading this. If you don't have Windows, I highly recommend making a friend that does have Windows, or at least building a separate partition on your Macintosh computer. If you talk to the IT department, they can usually help you out with this.